Hey everybody, Miss Trish here with another Coffee Chronicles. But today I do have my special guest, like I was telling you guys, Miss Trey Anthony. Hey Trey, what's going on?
Hey, great, Trish. How are you?
I
Thanks for
am.
having me.
Thanks for joining me. It's an awesome pleasure this Saturday morning. I hope you had your coffee. Did you? Do you drink coffee?
I sure do. Yeah, I can't go without my coffee.
Me
That's
either.
a
I woke
must.
up this morning, I was like, I need a coffee, like right away. You know what I mean? I
Yes,
don't know if it's like that for you in the morning, but for me, it's kind of like brush my teeth, come get my coffee. You know what I mean?
definitely. And I have to. I brew my coffee. Do you do instant coffee or you brew?
I'm a Keurig girl. Is that the same thing as
Yeah,
brewing? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So that's
Okay,
what I do. Yes, I have a Keurig,
okay, good.
and that works well for me. So I'm happy I have it. I don't have the cup with me now, but it doesn't matter. So let's talk trade. Let's tell people who you are if they don't know.
Okay. I'm an award-winning writer,
Mhm.
best known for my work, "The Kink in My Hair" and "How Black Mothers Say I Love You."
Yes.
And I'm also a motivational speaker and relationship and wellness coach. And I just finished writing my new book, Black Girl in Love with Herself, a
Right.
self-help guide for Black
Mhm.
women who want to love themselves better.
That's what's up. So I had the pleasure of reading all of that book. I read it in 1 week. I was
Oh,
telling you
wow.
before. Yeah, I read it in a week. I read really fast, especially, of course, when you're interested in something, you're always going to continue with it, right? So how did that journey start of writing Black Girl in Love with Herself?
Well, it's funny. I started writing, I wrote an article for Huffington Post a couple of years ago, probably about 5 years ago, called "If I Was a Black Girl in Love with
Mm,
Myself."
okay.
And it was just things that I had learned about myself around just like healing and going to therapy and what I needed to do. And I was like, oh, I need to just kind of love myself better.
Mhm,
And then I got into a really serious, committed relationship.
mhm.
And Hay House, who is the biggest self-help publisher in North America, approached me to write the book on this article that I wrote about, finding and manifesting a great love, and how I was able to have this wonderful relationship at the time.
Mhm.
And then, as fate had it, as I was writing the book, my whole relationship blew up in my face, right?
Oh man, okay.
And so I was supposed to be writing this relationship book on
Right.
how to manifest a great relationship and be in a healthy relationship. And
Right.
then my whole world just fell apart.
Oh,
And so the irony wasn't lost on me.
mhm,
And I still had this book to turn in.
of
And I
course.
just had to really examine, how did I get to this place in my life, and what signs did I miss, and what things and behaviors did I allow,
Mhm.
and how did I show up in the relationship was the biggest question for me.
Okay.
And so I called my editor and I just said, hey, the book that you wanted me to write is not the book I'm going to be
It's
turning in.
exactly right. I can't be writing the same book, sis. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was really fortunate that they were like, you know what, Trey, go with what feels right for you and what's your
Yeah.
truth at this moment. And so it was for me to really just examine, like, how did I show up in the world? How did I find and seek love? What stuff from my own childhood influenced how I looked and showed up in a relationship? What
Mhm,
does it mean to be a strong, quote unquote, strong Black woman in
mhm.
society?
Right.
What lessons have I learned from my grandmother and my mother?
Mhm.
What about my relationship with my father, my
Yes.
relationship with money, my
Yes.
mental
Ooh.
health, all of that. And all of that's in the book, and I give women, guided lessons for you to ask yourself these questions, and
Right.
also affirmations to do. And there's an amazing playlist of songs to keep you
Yes.
inspired.
Yes,
So it's all
exactly.
of those things. Yeah.
Exactly. So going through the breakup, right? How was your writing journey? Were there times where you're like, I don't want to do this? Did you ever feel in that journey like, okay, you know what? This is not it for me. I can't do this right now. Or did you say, no, I got to keep on going? Like, how did you feel during that whole process? I know you also mentioned you moved and all kinds of stuff. So how was that?
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, with the risk of sounding woohoo, right? Like, ooh,
Right,
right?
right,
I
right.
really, truly felt in my darkest moment. There was one moment, and I write about it in the intro of the book, where I was on the bathroom floor crying
Oof.
And I was just like, I can't do this. And I was like, God, I don't want to die, but I don't want to live like this either.
Right.
And it was like this message came from God above, really and truly. And it said, make your mess your message. And I
Hey.
really feel that my whole world got upside down, turned upside down, because the universe really wanted me to share this message
Of
with
course.
women and be as honest and vulnerable as possible. So there was definitely times where I was like, no, I don't want to write this. This is too personal.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, no, like this is not about just your healing journey. It's about allowing others to show up and be vulnerable as well and go
Hmm.
on their own journey. So I would say this is the most honest piece of writing that I've
Yes.
ever done, you
Yes.
know, and a lot of my friends and people who have, like yourself, who have read it beforehand, who had the sneak preview, were just like, I can't believe how honest you were in the book. But I thought if I was going to write a book like this, it had to come with a real transparency and
Absolutely.
honesty about what it feels like when you are broken and
Of
what it
course.
feels like when you're disappointed and when you feel like you can't go on,
Exactly.
and how you realize a lot of times because of social media you put on this act of everything is okay and
Right.
your world is amazing, and a lot of us are falling apart
Mhm.
privately and silently.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think it's important that you were transparent in the book because a lot more people will resonate with that. They don't see, like, they see you as this high figure, but then after they realize, oh my God, she's human too. And she goes through things like we do. And a lot of us had that crying on the bathroom floor moment. Then, who would
Yeah.
probably never think that you had that moment. But it's so good that you were open and like you wrote that. And when I read that, because as we discussed previous, I had my own heartbreak earlier this year as well. So I
Yeah.
know that moment. And when I read it, I'm not going to lie, I cried because I was like, man, I know what this is like. Trust me, like 100%. So I'm so happy that it was so transparent. Um, Now, as a writer, as an author, what do you do for your writer's block? If you have any, how do you deal
Yeah.
with that?
It's funny because I just had this conversation with a friend of mine just last night,
Okay.
who is trying to write their first book too. And they were like, what is your writing process? And I said, for me, I'm one of those people, when I start a project, I become very obsessed with it.
Okay.
And so I have to become really disciplined. And so in writing this book, I set up a writing schedule where I wrote every single day, Monday through Saturday,
Wow.
from 10 to 3.
Wow.
And I only broke for lunch, and that was about it. And sometimes if I felt that it wasn't coming or flowing, I would maybe go outside and do a 20-minute walk or something like that.
Okay.
But I was really fortunate with this book, um, that I had so much to say and write.
Yes.
It was so therapeutic for me,
Hmm.
and so many people wanted to share their own stories and work. And I was really lucky that I had someone at that time, like I was able to hire a full-time nanny because I also had a brand new baby. And that nanny came in from pretty much like 10 to 5 and looked after my son for me, and
Nice.
just was always like, okay, you got to get writing, go
Right.
write.
Go. She
Right.
was on you. Nice. Good for
Yeah.
her. Okay. Cool.
So that really helped as well. And it was really about unplugging. Like I turned off my phone
Hmm.
and I would write. And sometimes too, when I got into, sometimes when it felt I was having a somewhat of a writer's block, what I used to do is I would set my timer and write for 20 minutes and then break for 7 minutes. And so that was
Okay.
something that also helps me.
Hmm.
And so I find when give yourself that kind of leeway, but you're still being very disciplined. So that's what I would do. It would be like 20 minutes writing, then a 7 minute break, then another 20 minutes writing, and then a 7 minute break.
Ooh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Because I know writer's block. I'm like, I'm done. Close the laptop.
Yeah.
That's it. No more for me. But that's so good. Like, that's a good way to discipline yourself to do it. That's awesome. And there's a lot of songs. There's a lot of music in the book that you put at the. How did you choose a lot of those tunes? Like, I was like, okay, I know this one. How did you choose? How did you choose those? Like, what was the thought process in that?
For me, it was really about like songs that had helped me get through my darkest moment. I don't know about you, but I'm one of those people where every song is an anthem when I'm
Of
going through
course.
shit. Right?
Of course. Yes.
And so for me, it was like what was on my playlist as I was going through, one of the darkest moments of my life, and songs that really kind of helped me, uplifted me, songs that also made me cry. Like I'm a big Mary
Yeah.
J. Blige fan. And
Hey,
nobody does heartbreak like Mary J. So there were some songs.
seriously, that's
Yeah,
right.
there was a few songs that I referenced from Mary J. Blige because I was
Mhm.
just like, I gotta talk about this heartbreak. And then there were some songs that were just really inspiring that I really loved and related to the chapter, like, what's it, Sister Sledge, where they did We Are Family, when I
Yes,
talk about family drama.
right,
Then I have
right.
Tupac, Dear Mama, because that
Yes.
was a song that also reminded me a lot of my own mom and my
Mhm.
relationship with my mom. So that's in there. Queen Latifah, Ladies First. That
Yes.
was a song that kind of kept me, a little pep in my step when I
Okay.
needed a little uplifting. So
Nice.
songs like that, yeah.
Nice. And so now, like now that the book is done, we're almost ready to lunch, and go January 7th. What song do you go to now, knowing that, you know what, we're at the end, we're at the finish line?
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's so funny. And it's not even in the book, but this is my go-to now is what's that song? Oh God. Janae. What's her name? Janae. Oh God.
Janae Aiko?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And you know that song, Back Up on My Bullshit.
Yeah.
That is
What?
my
As
anthem right
it
now,
should
right?
be.
Right? And I
Exactly.
love that part where she's like, I'm done dealing with you who don't know how to deal with me. And
Exactly.
that's how I feel.
And
Like,
that's
I'm
how
just
it
like,
is.
I'm done with
I don't
people
blame
who
you.
don't know how to deal with me, right?
That's
Yeah,
it, like I like how you shut that door, like, you're like,
yeah,
I'm not dealing with anybody who can't respect me, you know what I mean? And
yes,
in order to elevate me to eliminate, right? So that's a good thing that you are able to eliminate. And I'm learning that too. Reading this book helped me learn that as well. I also know that you said you turned into jogging, you started
yes.
jogging a lot. I read that. What do you listen to when you're jogging?
Girl, I'm gangster when I jog, right?
Oh,
I,
okay.
I think people would be shocked at what I listen to,
Really?
right? I'm
Give me a
I'm a
song.
big
What song?
I'm a big Biggie, right?
Right.
Warning, like his old first album, Juicy.
Okay.
I'm a big I love, sometimes I also listen to like gospel, which is funny. Like I love a good Kirk
Of
Franklin,
course, yes.
right?
Right.
J. Cole, I also love. Um, yeah, so I listen to some, some kind of ratchet stuff.
Of course.
Snoop,
Right? We're all a little gangster
because
in the
I'm a big
head.
hip
It's
hop head.
okay. It's
Yeah.
totally
And I
fine.
find and I find with hip hop, it really is about like, like nobody's better than me. I'm a gangster.
Right?
And
You're all the way
so
up here when it
yeah.
comes to hip hop,
So
right?
I love that kind of stuff. And I love my favorite song to go to is the Savage remix with Beyonce.
Yes, I like that one
And
too. Yep.
so I love that, and Meg the Stallion. So that's also the songs that. So I like those kind of songs that are like you can't get me.
They're
I'm
like
better than
anthems.
you. I'm doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. They're like powerful anthems. I hear you.
yeah.
I hear you. Now, given that we're in the pandemic and everything like that, how has that affected you like this year? How has 2020 been as a whole, actually?
Hmm. 2020 was definitely a challenging year for me, right? Like,
Mhm.
there's no two ways about it. Like, the demise of a 5-year relationship, a move, like 3 moves in 1 year, which
Wow.
was crazy. Mothering for the first time, a brand new newborn.
Mhm.
And so I really had to really take care of my mental health. And the connection with the jogging really was something after I went to therapy. It was where my therapist said to me, you need to get out of the house and make some kind of connection with people every
Okay.
day
Okay.
because you are really sinking into a deep and dark depression,
Mhm.
and I wasn't really aware of it for a long time. And so part of my self healing around that was also going for a walk every single day for
Nice.
30 minutes. And on that walk, I would FaceTime someone to make that just intimate
Connection.
connection.
Mhm.
And then after that, what I used to do is then I started the walk, and I would walk for 10 minutes and then I would call somebody. And
Okay.
then I started, from the walk, starting to run. And that was also really important for me. And to be quite honest, it really helped with my mental health. But
Mhm.
then I realized it was much more than just jogging. Like I needed to actually go and seek medical advice. And that's something that I wrote about in the book.
Yes.
Just the shame and stigma around me even admitting that I was in a depression, like a deep, dark depression,
Okay.
and that yoga and running wasn't enough. And
Right.
so I actually had to go on medication. And I write about that in the book, how I was in such denial that I didn't want to be a person who was labeled someone who had depression or who was on medication. But I realized that I was in such a dark place that, and it was when I was interviewing, which was so funny, I wrote about it in the book as well.
Yes.
I was interviewing the psychiatrist who was talking about depression and anxiety for Black women. And she
Wow.
was a Black psychiatrist.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about how often as Black women, we do not even know that we are depressed. Like we just
Right.
think that we are failing in life or we need to keep going. And so I was like, oh, can you name some of the symptoms of depression? And then she was naming them.
Right.
And as I'm writing them down, I
You're
was like,
like,
oh my God, I have every single one of these.
wow. Oh my. Oh my. Wow. At least she was able to like let you know that this is what you have, and you were also able to recognize it and you weren't in denial after that. Can you talk about like visiting a therapist as a Black woman? Like, because that's really tough for us to actually admit and do.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, definitely. And I give in the book, just some things to look for in the therapist, right? Like for me, it was really important for me to find a Black woman
Amen.
because I had gone to therapy in the past, but I had never had a Black therapist.
Okay.
And this time around, it was really important for me to be able to share this journey and level of healing because I was in such despair that I thought that I needed to see someone who looked like me to mirror back my
Right.
experiences. So I say in the book, like it's really important for you to seek a therapist and ask them questions and interview them, right? Because they're not cheap, right? And there are
Right.
some definite alternatives to cheaper alternatives for therapy, which is good and much more accessible. But you need to ask them, like, do they have experience working with people of color?
Right.
If there is other levels of things that impact you. For me, being a Black queer woman, that was really important for me around
Right.
how do they deal with LGBTQ
Exactly.
issues.
That's right.
I also had to ask them, around like class issues, like things like that, and and what kind of mode of therapy do they give, or is it like, because I wasn't interested in having somebody who would just listen to me for an hour. I
Okay.
really wanted someone to give me really direct guidance and
Right.
say, okay, this is maybe what you need to implement in your life. And so it's
Mhm.
really important for you to find out what kind of therapy resonates with you, because some people just want to talk for an hour,
Right.
right?
Exactly. Right.
And other people really want, like, step by step instructions. And that's kind of me. Like, I want to talk, but I also want someone to hold me accountable and say, these are some of the things that you could try or do. So that's also very important to discuss, and also to talk about if your therapist takes any kind of insurance or sliding scale. Because even at one point in my therapy, because so much of my work had been canceled because of the pandemic and
Of
my
course.
shows and stuff. And
Hmm.
I was a new mom, and I had gone from a high income household to just one. At one point, I had to go back to my therapist and say, can we go on a sliding scale, and can you reduce the fees, because it became too expensive for
Of
me.
course.
So all of that is really important as well for you to ask as well.
Wow. Okay. That's really good information because sometimes we don't know what to ask. And that
Yeah.
thing, those things are really good. Like some people are scared to ask them that question. Can you reduce the price? It's like, you know what I mean? It's like almost like
Yeah.
thin line, but that's a good thing. You asked it. Like what you wouldn't have known if you didn't ask, right?
Exactly.
So that's the thing. We have to not be afraid to ask questions because I think that's what's ingrained in our head. Like don't speak unless you're spoken to, and don't ask questions. And these are things that we need to unlearn. So I'm very happy that you put that out there because I do believe like it's going to help a lot. Yesterday you put out your mommy diaries about Christmas socks and Christmas sweaters and so forth. How you doing over there, new mom?
Oh my gosh, it's a lot. And
I hear
of
that.
course, oh my God, it's I think I just was unprepared for some of the things that come with motherhood, right? Like,
Right.
and especially my son just started daycare, and I was very blessed, as I said before, that for a whole year he was home with me
Right.
and also with a full-time nanny. So it was just me and him and the nanny. And so
Mhm.
I was blessed to have that privilege, because I know a lot of women, have to go right back to work. So
Mhm.
this has been the first week that he's been in daycare, and it happens to fall during Christmas. And I was just like, it's a lot. Like, he had wear your crazy Christmas socks day.
I heard.
Then he had wear your ugly sweater day. Then he
Yes.
had like wear your pajama Christmas day. And I
Right.
was just like, this is too much for me as a mom.
I watched you say, I don't have an ugly sweater. I was like,
And
gee,
so
what did she put him in? Like,
I was just like, this is too much. And I was just like, is this what we're really signing up for? Especially too, because he's one, he doesn't understand what's
right,
happening.
exactly,
And
exactly.
all of this pressure falls on you as a mom. And I think especially as a Black mom, you want to
Yes,
always look like you're involved and you care.
of
And
course.
so yesterday's video was just me saying, I don't care. Like, I really don't care.
I like I liked it because it was super real. I was like, yeah, I can understand. I'm not a mom, I'm an aunt, but I get it still because I'm still involved in all that stuff. But I get it. It is a lot. And wait till he becomes a teenager and it's school supply time.
Oh,
I'm just
girl.
saying.
Yeah.
I just the heads up right now, because when you look at the list, you're like, okay, I could do this. Then you're like $2,000 later. It's like, oh my goodness. So I understand. What else was I going to ask you? Okay, so one word to describe your book. What would you say? Black girl in love with herself. One word.
Transforming,
Yes.
transforming,
Yes.
transforming. And
That's a good one.
yeah.
That's a good
And
one.
yeah, I would definitely say every woman who has read the book so far has said it has really transformed how I show up in the world
Hmm.
and what I do. And to really just take a really honest look at yourself and your
Absolutely.
life. And I think as Black women, we sometimes are not given that luxury to stop and pause. We're always in survival mode. We're always like, get up and let's get it done. We
Hmm.
got shit to do.
That's right.
And this is a moment where I finally say to all of us who, are those A type personalities, let's get it done, to kind of say, hey, girl, you got
Yeah.
to stop
You got to
and
chill.
you got to take, real, just a real look at your life and kind of see why shit has not been working for you,
Exactly.
right?
Right.
And I think until we are allowed that permission to stop and breathe and assess,
Yeah.
we are going to keep repeating the same cycles over and over again.
Absolutely. What's next for you, Trey? What's going on after January 7th? What are you working on now?
Oh, wow. There's some big news coming out on
Okay.
Tuesday.
Okay.
So, which I'm very excited about, that is really going to shift the change of the industry and the shape of the Canadian and American industry. And so I got a big things job. I will,
Hey.
I will just say that that's
Okay.
coming out. The big news is on Tuesday, which involves a major Canadian broadcaster. So I'm really
Perfect.
excited about that.
Hmm.
And I'm also right now writing a film with my writing partner, based on the play How Black Mothers Say I Love You. So I'm
Yes.
doing that, and I'm working on another TV series. And then I'm just pushing this book. Like, I'm really
That's
telling
what's
people,
up.
go out, buy this book, get this book, let's make it a bestseller. Let's show up as Black women and say, this is the book we've been waiting for, you
That's it.
know?
And where do they find this book? How do they go about doing it? Let us know.
Yeah, please go to Amazon and order your book. You can go there. You can go to any of your local bookstores as well. There's Karis Books in America. There
Mhm.
is a different book list in Canada. Um, you can get it at Indigo Canada as well. It's in every single store. And you can also go to my website, treyanthony.com, to order, but just order. We really
Order. That's
need,
what we
yeah,
want you to do. Order.
yeah.
Will you be doing any more live readings or anything of that nature before it comes out?
Definitely. I just actually hired someone to put together a virtual tour,
Mm.
and I'm taking over Hay House's Instagram and
Good.
Facebook every Monday. And so I'm doing that live as well. So you're going to see me. And I'm also coming out with a podcast. And
Right.
I'm also going to be doing a Move Your Damn Body health and wellness course as
Good.
well for
Good.
women who, have the COVID pandemic weight and want to get it off. I lost 50 pounds this year, and
Yes.
I just want to really just share like how, you know, a health journey is a whole entire holistic approach.
Absolutely. Is it really called Move Your Damn Body?
It's called Move Your Damn Body because that's what I say
Oh my
every single
God,
day.
it's called. I love that.
Every
It's
single
gonna get
day
people
I
up.
get up and I say, move your damn body. It's
Move
30
your
minutes. Just
damn
move your
body.
damn body.
No excuses. And that's the event. We've all had some COVID weight. Trust me, we all do. So we all
Yes.
do need that. And once we get back out, what's the first event that you will have? Because we will get back out, I have hope. But what's the first event you're gonna have?
Yeah, I'm really hoping, like, I would love to do an in-person meet and greet book tour with folks because I've been so blessed to have a built-in audience and people who've been waiting
Yeah.
for my next big thing. And I just miss interacting live with people. Like, I'm really thrive off people's energies.
Right. I understand that. Any last words for writers who want to write a bestseller like you?
I would just say you got to start. Like,
Mhm.
stop. I think some of us get really caught up in the research and writing, reading books on how to write and
Right.
taking writing classes. And, it's funny. It took me 7 years to get this book done. It took me
Wow.
7 years, and not because I never actually got disciplined. It was
Okay.
7 years in my mind about,
Okay.
oh, I want to write a book. And and I started and I wrote one chapter and then I kind of put it down for another 2 years, and then
Mhm.
I would write a little journal entry and go, oh, maybe this is the book I need to write. And it
Right.
wasn't until I finally said, no more games.
Okay.
You are getting on a writing schedule. This is what you're doing, and we're going to get it done.
Amen.
And that's what you got to do. You got to set some deadlines and you got to meet them.
Absolutely.
So that's what I would say to people. Like, stop talking about it.
Just do it type of thing,
Just
right?
do it.
Just do
Yeah.
it. All right. Trey, thanks for joining me on Coffee Chronicles. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I
We're gonna do this
appreciate it.
again. I appreciate you too. We're gonna definitely do this again. You are a big inspiration to me. I wrote a book this summer too, still trying to push it. You know what I mean? So you're
Wow, amazing.
it's really so far so good, but I have still have some work to do. I have to get on a writing schedule. That's what you taught me.
Yes.
That's what I took away from this whole thing. I've got to get on a writing schedule. So I appreciate you. You inspire many. Keep doing what you do. We need people like you for sure.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having
You're
me.
welcome. Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye
Okay,
now.
bye.